Thank you for staying with us. The cabinet retreat for ministers and special advisors under this administration remains a major talking point days after its conclusion. One of the strongest takeaway was the stern warning the president issued to his team on delivering on the job or finding their way out, as he would not tolerate poor performance. But beyond that, many other issues were discussed. For Nigerians at this time, surviving the current hardship being experienced is priority, and they look to see how the outcome of the retreat will impact their lives.
You are not here to make excuses. Neither am I. We must put aside personal ambitions and focus on the progress of our nation. It is through this that we can be truly proud.
All right, joining us in Abuja studio is Pioneer Managing Director, Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, under Federal Ministry of the Communications and Digital Economy, and convener Tinubu Shetima Vanguard Engineer Timansaniu Ahmed Rufai. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians.
Now, let's begin with the president's statement admonishing the ministers to put aside or set aside their personal ambitions and have a national view at addressing things instead.
Yes, thank you. I interpret that as a very loaded statement by Mr. President. Putting everything together in just one simple sentence, which is the focus is progress of Nigeria. I do expect that every minister is abreast of the renewed hope agenda, particularly, the manifestos of the president, as stated in the renewed hope agenda. And I do expect also that during the transition period, about 3 committees were formed by the then SGF, and one of the committees is documentation committees. If I can remember, I think it is headed by the then head of service. So this is expected to detail and x-ray the achievement of the outgoing administration and give a document to the incoming administration. Now, putting these two together, I do believe now, before every minister, they have what exactly the president wants them to achieve in their various ministries. Now, what is the function of the ministers? Their own is to do the right thing. Like Peter Drucker said, management is doing things right, while leadership is doing the right things. So, on the strength of this, I expect them to do the right things. And what are the right things is for them to set up the various priorities in their ministries. That is number one. And also for them to allocate appropriate human resources that will enable them to achieve these priorities. Then, of course, the third most important issue is for them to provide the fiscal resources. Then, the MDAs and the agencies are to do things right, by ensuring that these set objectives that will be given to them are done at the minimal cost and also done, with optimum efficiencies, in order to achieve the goals already set out by the ministers. So, fundamentally, I will expect that Mr. President will give to all the the ministers and a performance metrics against which they will be measured. Because the target must be specific. There must be specific target given to them. And these targets must be timelined and they must be measurable. So, and in the course of doing this, there must be a key performance indicators and also MIP's mandatory inspection points. Then we should be evaluating. The key issue in the president's speech is that most of this statement has been made. Some ministers indicated that they've signed performance board, but the public is yet to know what are the targets given to all the ministers. You know, in energy, what are we seeking to achieve? In transportation, what exactly do we want to achieve at the end of first year, at the end of second year, at the end of the third year? In communications and digital economy, what do we want to achieve? You know, so there must be measurable metrics that is attached to the deliverables in such a way and manner that they can be measured, and the ministers, you know, in turn will have to challenge the chief executives of the parastatals because they are the key implementers of these objectives, you know, and challenge them and also give them the performance metrics that within these 6 months, this is what I want to see, and within a year, this is what I want you to achieve. And there must be a means of reporting. And in the whole of this, the national planning, the budget and planning department, you know, is very key. I'm not in the knowledge of whether we are still implementing any rolling plan, a national rolling plan, because the objectives of government, you know, is essentially progress, and everybody is making contribution. Every MDA and every ministry makes contribution towards achieving this progress, supporting each other. So the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, we play a very key role in ensuring monitoring, you know, of all the parastatals under government and ensuring that these targets are achieved, and if they are not achieved, and analyzing what are the challenges and trying to mitigate them in order to overcome those challenges.
But what about the other takeaway of, because hitherto the issue of monitoring ministers was earlier on under the purview of the Office of the Secretary to the Government, the SGF, right now. But now we are seeing it going to the President's Advisor on Policy and Coordination, you know, talking about monitoring the deliverables of the ministers, which you have said or hinted at, you know, would also need to be properly articulated so that these ministers know exactly what they are to do per time. But in terms of, you know, this office of Hadiza Bala Usman, what do you think, you know, should be done, or how do you view this? Is this a breakthrough from your estimation?
Yes, the president, now the overall responsibility of the performance of the ministers is directly on the shoulders of the president, because every minister is a representative of the president in that particular ministry. So it is important that in the presidency, somebody, you know, is specifically charged with keeping track of the performance of every minister based on a measurable metrics, based on a template, you know, and based on the reporting system and based on an accounting system. You know, there must be, you know, a structure, comprehensive structure that will do that. You know, I expect that the office of Hadiza Bala Usman will also appoint, you know, monitors, you know, to follow every minister and report back, you know, to her, and from her, of course, to the presidency or to the president himself. Now, in doing this, she will have to coordinate, you know, her office with the Office of National Budget and Planning. And the budget office also have a big role to do in this, because I remember while I was in the office, we were trying to do what we call BIMPIS at that time. That's Budget Information and Monitoring System, for the country. But unfortunately, the project did not see the light of the day before I leave the office. We need to do that where we have a government information system, in such a way and manner that even the public can give feedback with respect to projects that have been implemented in various constituencies. For instance, what we intended to do at that time was that once the budget is released, it is in public purview. And once contracts are awarded, it is in public purview. When they mobilize to site, it's in public purview. Everything will be detailed. You click a budget item, you'll be seeing exactly what has been done, what has been achieved in that particular budget, how much has been released, who is the contractor, and what he has done on site. So it's not just Hadiza Bala Osman, that is the final responsibility of her office, but she has to also come up with strategy in such a way and manner that the entire process is transparent, the entire process can be monitored by individuals, particularly those that are supposed to be impacted in the various constituencies. So if you say that you've awarded a road that cuts across my village, somebody in my village should be able to manage to what extent the contractors are delivering based on the amount of money that has been given to them. So right. They have that primary responsibility, and it's very important because according to Peter Drucker again, if you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So measurement is fundamental, because it's only when you measure you'll be able to analyze and see whether you are in line with your target, whether you are you're achieving according to the targeted objective. So you must be able to measure, and when you're able to measure, then you're able to control. When you're able to control, you're able to manage. And when there are risks, when there are possibility of failures, you're also able to quickly identify and mitigate it.
Okay. Now we spoke with the special advisor on policy coordination, talking about Hadiza Bala some time ago, and she talked about all of this, the measurements, key performance indicators, and there was going to be a quarterly review of the performance of ministers to measure how far they have come with regards to the targets. Yes. And we are seeing that this is a shift from the norm that we have often seen over the years. Talk to us how critical this is to advancing the agenda of the president with regards to his renewed hope agenda, and also advancing what is necessary for the improvement of the lives of every Nigerian.
Yes, I want us to take note of the word policy coordination. So when governance is not coordinated, then everybody is on its own. At the end of the day, what it translates to is that we move, we do a roundabout movement. We keep having activities and there's no progress. And the key word that Mr. President mentioned is progress. So we don't want to move in and stay in at the same point. So that office is very critical because the policies are supposed to be coordinated so that the governance, we have convergency in the governance. We have a convergent purpose. Everybody is contributing towards making the house, the house, Nigeria now, a beautiful structure. So that office is, like she said, it's a departure from the past, yes, because nobody was being monitored, in most cases, and everybody was just doing whatever they like. I give a very critical example. When we launched the satellite in 2006, the whole idea was that there is enough demand, more than 6-7 times need of government, for this satellite, and that by now we should have about 5 or 6 communication satellites in the orbit. But what happened? Most of the MDAs that were supposed to patronize us, they refused to patronize us. Rather they will be buying this product, from other, international satellite operators that we're trying to run away from. Only few, eventually NTA and the Office of National Security Advisor that, came on board. The fear at that time was, you have only one satellite. If something happens. Now, this was in 2008, 2009. and eventually 2011 when we relaunched. But to date, this is 2023, 12 years after, nothing happened. However, if that was coordination, like PACSAT, immediately PACSAT launched after us, within 6 months, it was fully subscribed. So there is no coordination. There's no coordination among agencies. I can also tell you that there are some MDAs that for close to about 15 years now, they keep repeating the same item in the budget. The same item in the budget. Nobody's asking question why. What is being allocated and what has been done. So there is a very clear need, for our activities to be coordinated in such a way that MDs and parastatals that are doing something that has, are related, will be able to work together. And this is when the ministers are able, to set up a coordinated targets, and the MDs now are asked to fit in. Not a situation whereby, in the past, envelope is given, and they say, okay, go and fill it, go and fill your projects inside it. No, it shouldn't be that way. The projects, the minister should decide, this is what I want to achieve. And you, as a chief executive, this is what you should do, as part of the total package. And you, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. So that at the end of the day, I can achieve this, by the end of December. So now that the Office of the Police Coordinator has said quarterly report by the ministers, then the minister should ask MDA every month, give me progress report. Every month, give me progress report, so that every quarter they can also report their progress, to the Office of the President. And the key issue here is specific targets, measurable targets. That is the key issue, because if you don't have measurable targets, then you cannot decide whether the objectives are achieved or not. If it is the Ministry of Roads, you will say, these are the roads I want you to tie. You see, there's no point, starting 300 roads across the country and finishing none. There is no point. If it is 10 you can deliver in a year, just take that 10 and deliver it. Nobody is going to die. So based on the resources that are available, so and this is taking us back now to a rolling plan. We must have a national rolling plan, a short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And this plan must be a national plan in such a way and government that any government that comes in, whether same party or any other party, will fit in. They will come in and say, okay, this have been done, and this is what is left. So since we were born, we've been hearing of East-West Road. Since we were born, we've been hearing of Mambila, dam project, and so many projects all over the places, and not tangible projects. Progress have been made. So we must accelerate positively, because Nigeria seems to be accelerating in negative, sense of it. We must be able to move, on a straight line and be making incremental progress, from month to month, from year to year. So I think this is a challenge on the honorable ministers, and also by extension on all the chief executives, because they are very critical in achieving the various organizational objectives. So it's a big challenge for them, and the minister should come back. Yes.
All right, Engineer Rufai, among the recommendations that also emanated from the presidential retreat was a call on ministers to submit their memos by Wednesday before the next FEC meeting, accompanied by their permanent secretaries of the ministries for appraisal. And then on the FEC meeting day, that is, the minister and the permanent secretary must also be in attendance. I wonder what you make of the significance of this addition. And we saw the president also harping on better working relationships between ministers and permanent secretaries of the ministries they are supervising.
Yes, I want to believe that this is still in line, with respect to having the metrics itself, having specific objectives that can be measured, the performance metrics. I'm sure this is in line. This is what the presidency, is saying. that look, you've had my objective. Most of them are familiar with the renewed hope objectives. They've read it, as it pertains to the various ministries and parastatals. So I'm sure what the president is saying, that now that you're on board, give me your strategies, because the minister, is to do the right thing, like I have said. He is to set the priorities, and he is to also allocate human resources, and also to allocate the fiscal fiscal requirement of whatever programs that is going to emanate from the strategies. Because when you have the strategies, you have the programs. From the programs, you have the projects, and from the projects, you have activities. So once they outline all this, against various timeline, I'm sure that's what the president wants them to deliver. That, okay, in my renewed hope, this is what we can, this is what we are contributing, this is what we are doing, and this is when we'll achieve this. So they are going to do what we call what is what, when is what, and who is what, and what is who. So these are basically, what they are going to deliver to Mr. President. So what is what with respect to their strategy, who is what with respect to, who are going to be the responsible officers, and what is when with respect to, the timeline of the deliverables. So they will have to put all these things together, and all will be archived with the policy coordinator and other relevant offices. I remember in those days there used to be an office of Presidential Project Monitoring Committee. I don't know if that is still there. There used to be that office that actually goes around the MDAs and monitor. But I think the key issue will also be that the office of the Auditor General is also very important here, because Auditor General used to come and audit and check you, to see, from what you've been given, how much you've been taking. How much you've been able to deliver. Also, the budget office used to come around and monitor. So, by asking the permanent secretaries, because the office of the permanent secretaries are the custodian of records. They are the custodians of records, and actually the Director General of the ministries. They are the one looking after all the chief executives under the ministry. So the office of the PAMSEC, is to help the minister to put all these things together, and they are very critical in achieving the objectives of any ministry. So if you have a situation where a minister and his PAMSECs are not flowing in the same direction, we're going to have a stagnant water. Nothing is going to move. So that's why I'm sure the president is advocating the harmonious relationship within intra-ministerial personnel, and also interministerial, because it's also important that ministers support each other to be able to achieve their goals.
Interesting. One is wondering if perhaps you see that there might be consequences for those who do not meet up with the set target at the end of the day. Because I recall that the spokesperson to the president, Ajurin Gelali, mentioned as at the time these ministers were being sworn in, that it was no longer business as usual, and that whoever does not deliver, so to speak, would be shown the door. I'm wondering what you are expecting with regards to those who do not meet up their targets.
Well, it's as simple as what he has said. The function of leadership is to hire and fire. Right? The function of leadership. If you cannot deliver, you have no business sitting on the seat. And look, you see, in any organization, even as a country is as good as the leader. A country cannot progress more than her president. This is fundamental. Because the entire achievements of that country depends on the capacity of the president. This is where it starts from. Now, when you trickle down to organizations, when you trickle down to ministries, or states, a state cannot be better than the governor. If you have an excellent governor, you will have an excellent state. Within short of time, you will see achievements here and there. Right? Then come down to the ministers. If you have an excellent minister, you will have an excellent ministry. From day one, he will hit the ground running. So the minister themselves also, in one of the major, setting the objectives and also allocating resources, he has to make sure that the people he's putting in the MDAs are people who can deliver. And to be able to deliver, you need a minimum of 20% or 25% technical knowledge of that ministry. Then you need about 40% strategic knowledge. To be able to envision, how to move, and achieve your objectives of your own organization, and interpersonal knowledge, because you have to do things right, and that is operational. You have to enhance operational efficiency. So you have to be able to manage your resources, human resources, to give you the best deliverables. So these are the background. So if all these things are done, if the leaders do the right things by, doing what you're supposed to do, and the managers below do things right, then there will be no need, for fear of being sacked. But if you cannot, in fact, I expected them to, even every chief executive to write his resignation letter. Just right. If I'm a minister, I will tell everybody, please sign your resignation letter. I couldn't deliver, and therefore I have resigned voluntarily, because I don't want to disgrace you, to say that I sack you. So if I'm a minister, this is what I want. So that you can just wake up one day and you just hear that you're no more in the office and someone else has replaced you. So this is very fundamental.
Do you think any of these ministers would want to do that?
They can do it, and they will want to do that, because if they do that, what about if look, one of the Minister of Aviation, I don't know if that is correct, because there's so much fake news all over the place. He said, I will sack you before I'm sacked. It's a very simple statement. He too has done his retreat, and in the aviation industry, I said, that's what I read in the newspaper, so I've not verified it, but I read it. And he said, yes, the president said, if I don't perform, he will sack me. But before they sack me, I make sure that I've sacked all of you. So you must perform. So, ministers, they have enormous power, for goodness sake. So, it's not, it will be disgraceful, for you, to be sacked from your job. If you are monitoring and you are measuring, because you're supposed to measure yourself first before you are measured. If you have to set up internal structures, your audit system, to performance audit systems, and institute what they call performance-based management, PBO. So ensure that you have optimal returns from your subordinates. So if you are doing this, but if you are having challenges, if you are having serious challenges that you cannot overcome, then you run back to the president and say, look, yes. So at the end of the day, you can seek help, and that help can maybe, resolve whatever challenges or stumbling blocks that you find in your way, in trying to achieve your objectives.
All right, Engineer Timasani Ahmed Rufai, we must thank you for your time on the program. Our time is up. Unfortunately, we cannot continue that conversation, but we thank you for your time so far.